What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Frankie Bones, and in today's video we're going to be hopping into the Call of Duty League universe. We're going to be breaking down some Rostermania, telling you guys some important notes before we get into it. Then we'll go team by team, talk a little bit about some of the moves that were made over the past few days. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and be sure to subscribe if you are new to not miss out on any Call of Duty content coming in the near future. So to kick things off, we'll start with just a few important notes and things to keep track of throughout this conversation. First thing I want to talk about is a few key dates in terms of the schedule of when all of this news comes out and sort of revolves around. So the first date was this past Sunday at midnight, 11:59 p.m., and that was the date for teams to extend options for players that are on, a 1+1 deal and they're approaching their second year, so they have an option to pick up that player. So definitely some big news to talk about there, as obviously that date has come and passed, and we've gotten a ton of news over the past 2 days regarding that. The second date that's important to know is that on Monday, July 3rd, that free agents can start signing contracts with new teams. The league year officially ends the night before, so just two important dates to keep in mind here throughout the conversation. The next thing that's also relevant here is that the CDL minimum salary was increased from $55,000 to $58,000 just about. So not a huge increase, but definitely something noteworthy for teams. And the last thing that I just wanted to talk about, there was some news, but just wanted to cover it up front here because it's the one thing that was sort of confirmed for the most part by the community for next year, is that the Florida Mutineers are going to be bought out by / merge with an organization called Heretics, which is a Spanish organization, so it's highly anticipated that it's going to be a full Spanish roster. We now know that all the players were not extended outside of Vickle, who is a Spanish player. So without further ado, we'll hop right on into this thing and talk about each team individually that made some significant moves here, and ultimately talk a little bit about what some of the rumors are that they're tied to in terms of next season. So the first thing that we're obviously going to talk about, and is at the top of mind for a lot of different fans out there, is OPTIC Texas. So they announced today that they will not be extending their team options for Dan Ghosty and Hook. So pretty interesting move. We did know that probably going into this offseason that Hook's extension would not be picked up by the team. Ultimately just was not the impact that they were looking for. In terms of a consistent basis, he definitely had very impactful maps and moments in tournaments, but overall, I just think that wasn't ultimately the best move that they were looking to make. And in terms of Dan Ghosty, he definitely came in, played incredibly well. I think he improved throughout the year, and honestly was their best player at champs, but they're also going to be looking to move on from him as well, with the idea of trying to pack a punch and build a more star-studded roster. So to talk about quickly the rumors that are sort of tied to OPTIC Texas, the rumors mainly have been Draza and Envoy, who are both free agents from the LA Thieves, coming over and filling in those two spots 1-for-1. So I think this would be a pretty interesting roster overall, but again, we'll have to wait and see until things are sort of confirmed if that's the case. We also obviously have to talk about OPTIC Pred. Earlier on in the season, when Scump retired, this was the move that OPTIC was trying to make. Both sides sort of agreed that that's what they wanted, and they weren't able to get a deal done between the two organizations, so we'll have to see if that's the case, if Draza still comes, if they have to look for a new flex or a new main. Obviously questions to be answered in the near future. The next team that we're going to talk about is the Toronto Ultra, who are in a pretty unique situation, and these are just rumors obviously, but pretty interesting if the rumors are true. So The first thing that was officially announced by the organization is that they will not be extending an option for Hicksey, a rookie this year who came up, played well, played a pivotal role in them winning Major 3 in Texas, but ultimately I think that they were probably looking to pack a punch as well. But the next point sort of counteracts that, which is really interesting, and it's that there are rumors that the Toronto Ultra and their parent company are going through some financial troubles, and that they're going to be willing to listen to offers on both Kleenex and Insight. Throwback to the old Toronto Ultra with Cami, but pretty interesting move, because that means that they're not picking up Hicksey's option, who probably would have been a relatively cheap option, and was a good player, had good chemistry with some of the other guys on the team, including Scrappy, who is your franchise player. And if you're willing to listen to offers on Kleenex and Insight, not really sure what the buyout market will be like, as teams are likely cutting costs this year, but sort of just put Scrappy in a really bad situation. He's really unhappy about it, and the reality is that they're just going to have a low-budget team sort of reset like they did a few years ago, I believe after Modern Warfare and going into Cold War. But yeah, definitely not a way to keep your franchise player happy, and it'll be interesting to see if it even just makes more sense for them to just sell Scrappy and get the most amount of money from him too as well, because to be honest, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense on the surface, so have to stay tuned for some more updates on that. The next team that we're going to talk about is the Minnesota Rocker. So they came out with an official statement saying that they are not going to be extending any team options for any of the players on the roster. So this would be Attach, Bance, Afro, and Cammy, and the contract for Fame expired, or rather ran out, so they will currently right now have no official players on the roster. They can go through and try and rework deals with these players, but as of right now, they decided not to pick up any of these options. The second note here to talk about with the Rocker is that there are rumors of a potential merge with G2 and version 1/Rocker. This may allow them to retool if there's maybe a little bit more money for them in terms of the pot to be able to go out and get free agents. They've been aggressive in years past and could potentially be a benefit to them. So clean slate for them. I know they got rid of Brian Saints as well, so maybe just looking to really turn a new leaf and sort of rebuild this franchise overall and sort of just start from scratch and work their way back. The next team that we're going to talk about here is the Boston Breach. So pretty interesting from them as well. They came out and announced that they will not be extending options for Nero and Vivid. Both pretty tumultuous times here at the end of the season for them. Vivid being in and out of the roster, and then Nero, pretty high impact player for them. I'm not sure if it was really the right situation for him to be put on the bench, but that occurred as well. And it also came out that they're not going to be giving a team option to Awakening. So really interesting move there, in my opinion. Not because in reality they are picking up the options for Beans and Kremp. So, Big Wake is an absolute dominant slayer. I would love to have him as my flex. I think that, talking a little bit about the rumors, they've been tied to Clayster and Envoy. I don't think they really have a horse in the race for Envoy, and they already have or would have had options to different subs for that spot. But if the idea is to bring in Clayster, and I think this would be a great idea for many reasons, they're definitely trying to build some winning teams and trying to make it work, but Big Wake would really be a perfect flex. I'm not really sure if Beans is fit for that role, and just sort of takes away some of the experience that this team has. Obviously, Snoopy, not really sure what's going on with him, but assuming that he's going to be on the roster, a great young player that Clayster and Awakening could definitely help mold into a great player. So just some weird moves, a lot of faith in Beans. Great S&D player, great with the sniper, but personally just like Big Wake more, and we'll have to see what the Boston Breach do. Obviously next week they can start signing players, and we'll have to see what lines up for them. The last couple teams here, just a couple of quick notes on them. without too much news, the first one I'll talk about is New York. They have offered Kismet a new contract. This is rumored to stay with the team and keep them all together. They picked up the other team options. Not sure if things were sort of messed up in a tweet that was put out, but they originally said that Kismet signed or was extended in terms of his option, but he doesn't have one, so I'm not sure if that was a typo and that was supposed to be Priesta, but have to imagine this New York team is going to stay together. The next team that we'll talk about is the Atlanta FaZe. So maybe should have brought them up a little bit earlier, but sort of just a one-person thing and definitely could be reworked out through an extension. But they did not extend the option to Slasher, so maybe looking at what other options might be available for them this offseason in terms of maybe trying to get a flex. Celium definitely pacing-wise, playing a little bit more like a main AR, but he'll have to change his play style a little bit as well. Maybe move Simp to the flex. A lot of different things can happen here, but for the moment, as of right now, Slasher did not have his option extended, so Atlanta FaZe will be looking for one in theory. And the last team that we'll talk about here in this video is the Los Angeles Guerrillas. So they came out and tweeted that they will not be exercising team options for Assault, Exceed, and Joe Deceives. Pretty interesting if they didn't decide to at least pick up an option for Joe or Exceed, because they both definitely had flashes. I think Joe Deceives was definitely more consistent throughout the season and definitely had some potential flashes, but we'll have to see what they can do. Wouldn't say there's a ton of high-end SMG players sort of on the market right now, so maybe they might try and get somebody. Obviously, the LAG organization sort of pulled out of their financial commitments to the organization, so maybe the spot gets sold. Not sure exactly what may happen, but for now, because they have Alec, Nep, and Spart, they all signed 3-year deals at the beginning of the year to sort of build around this young core with Alec. So all 3 of those guys will be staying as well. Marky B will be staying on as their coach, and as we saw, he definitely may have to grab the controller as well. So pretty interesting roster updates. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If teams made the right moves, who do you think is going to sign where? Obviously, a lot of stuff is going to be going down over the couple of days coming up. In terms of rumors, things like that, obviously nothing can be official until Monday. So probably not going to put out another video like this until things are more officially signed or some big news is made. But again, Rostermania, super exciting period here in the Call of Duty cycle. And we have plenty of time off here between seasons, so should be plenty of stuff to cook up. There's definitely a few key pieces that could be holding things up along the way, and we'll just have to wait and see what unfolds. But for now, that's going to do it for this video, guys. This has been your boy Frankie Bones, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.